Okay everyone, this is going to be a little bit more in-depth video talking about the ignition system on a /2 BMW, or pretty much most BMWs from 1955 until 1969 used a ignition system like this, and it's a Magneto ignition. One thing you'll notice, there's no battery here, because a battery is not involved in the ignition system at all on these bikes. All the battery and charging system on these bikes is for the lights, the horn, that's it. They play no role in the ignition. So it's a Magneto ignition. It'll run with or without a battery. It makes no difference, like an old lawnmower pretty much. So these are all the parts that are involved in the ignition system, and we'll talk about them real quick here. This is the Magneto rotor. This rides on the end of the camshaft, and you'll notice that there are two lines scribed on the rotor. So we'll need to be aware of those lines when we set the timing. Those lines are going to line up with this plate here. You'll see that there's a notch right in the middle of this plate, and those lines in the Magneto rotor are intended to line up with that notch. This holds the coil, and it holds the points and everything else. This is the coil. This is a new coil made by Emerald Island. I measured its resistance across the two spark plug leads, and it was 29K ohms. So that's a good reading. If you have an old original coil, you might see readings down around 10 to 13K. Or lower than that, and that is when they kind of get iffy, and you might have it fail when it gets hot. So that's a brand new coil. The coil attaches to this using these two hold down plates and the little screws, and then this is attached to the front timing cover of the motorcycle by these two washers and nuts on either side. So then this is what holds the points. This goes on here with these two screws. And these are the points assembly here. So the two contact points, they mount on the post here. And we'll do that, we'll assemble it all later. This is the condenser. The condenser also mounts on here using these two screws. And then you've got the advance unit here. So the advance unit really is a critical part of this system. And if you'll notice, it's made up of a couple of weights. These arms are weighted, and springs inside of here to return the weights to the center. But what happens is, as you increase the RPMs of the bike, the centrifugal force causes these arms the weights to spread open. And what that does is it actually turns this lobe, and it advances your timing at higher RPM. So things to notice on here, an important part is this little limit spring. It's held on by this screw. And what that does is it limits the amount of advance. It limits how far these arms come out. So you'll want to make sure that's not broken. They break sometimes, and you can replace them. And you want to make sure that the springs are also in good working order so that it always returns to the middle. You can you can take this whole assembly apart if you want to and clean and lubricate things, but that's how it works. This is the bolt that goes through the advance and through the rotor and into the camshaft. Then of course you've got your spark plug wires, which connect to the coil, the two leads of the coil. And I've already cut and soldered the tips of these, so they're ready to install. Of course, you've got the spark plug caps and their covers, and then the spark plugs. So these are reproduction parts, but they're faithful to the original, made by BMW, which made the originals. These are 1K resistance caps. So the least resistance you can run in this system, the better. These are just 1K ohm, and it's not too bad. And these plugs I'm using are NGK B8HS plugs. So short reach plugs for the short reach heads, and they're non-resistor plugs. So if you can get non-resistor plugs, that's preferable. But that is all the components of the ignition system, and then we'll talk a little bit more about each one and assemble everything, and then go through how you set the timing.